So welcome everyone. So welcome to today's Deal Finder Corner. So this is your weekly property talk show brought to you by Property Filter, hosted by myself, Guillaume Black, your favorite Frenchman, CEO and co-founder of Property Filter. It's the UK's highest rated platform to find deals. And we're on a mission to empower our property investors, deal sourcers, really deal makers to do again 3,000 deals like we've done last year, thanks to the Property Filter blueprint. And really the purpose with these Deal Finder Corners is to give you more and the best of the available resources by inviting expert guests who will share with you the latest and most current strategies, secrets, tactics, what actually works right now in terms of finding and making deals and the reality of running a high-performance business in property. So really, it's my pleasure to introduce you with Bernadette Anderson today. So on today's Deal Finder Corner, I met Bernadette at the Property Investor Awards last November, and she was the winner of Deal of the Year, and quite rightly. So that was really cool. I was very jolly that night, so it was quite nice to meet then. So yeah. If you don't know Bernadette, she's London-based. She's a prolific property developer. She transitioned from a successful global IT career, and now she's very much passionate about redefining space, doing bold, creative, human-centered design that win awards. So she's got a really keen eye for details, potential in buildings, and really a passion for transforming and making things stand out. So she realizes really high-spec developments, and really this is really for the target market she's after. So she's got very much this eye again for the details, as I said, but she wants to make things stand out inside the community for the residents, etc. And it's no surprise she goes around and win awards. So today, what we can expect and what we'll speak about. So Bernadette's going to share with her some of the branding and things she uses for raising finance, how she positions herself, her developments to stand out, to attract the right buyers, the right tenants, and really secure the best finance for deals. Or she adds value with different techniques, so she can transform properties into the high-spec spaces. We're going to look and see in a moment. Or she can command, premium prices, break the ceilings of rent, of price in an area where other people would just overlook the potential in the first place. We're going to talk about, obviously, this is property, right? So overcoming challenges, obstacles, how she went from a sort of full-time global IT career to property development, all she had to go through basically there, and while staying very resilient through all the setbacks we experience in property. And I think there's a special mention of human-centered design, how she creates the space that fosters belonging of community, building space together, and really how she's building a brand more than just buildings. And she then attracts the right tenants, the right opportunities. She gets even more deals, on the back of that. So this is going to be a benchmark for excellence. So study what Bernadette is going to share with us today, how she delivers her project to stand out, and there's, I believe, an example for all of us. And if you are in the same sort of situation where you've got your corporate career, how do you go from that to becoming, a visionary in your own property career itself? So we're going to talk about all the transferable skills you can bring into that. So thank you so much. So very much looking forward to your talk today, Bernadette. So please, everyone else, join me in welcoming Bernadette to today's Deal Finder Corner. Giving a big massive.
That was a wonderful introduction.
Oh, thank you. How is it?
Okay, so can I check? Can everyone see my slides?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So there's quite a lot of content. So I'm not one of these people who just can say, this is my project and this is how much money I made. I'm actually going to give you some real examples of challenges that I had on my project, and the people who have received it so far were very grateful for what I shared with them. I'm quite generous with my information. So let's get straight in. Okay. Guillaume, I'm just trying to move the slides in.
Yeah, not sure. I can see your slide, but it's not moving either. If you sort of select your PowerPoint, yeah. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Okay.
I see. Yeah.
So just a quick introduction about me, because I don't want this to be the main focus, but I'm a property developer. I'm based in London, and I had a very successful global IT career. I've worked all over the world. I've worked on some very big projects leading the UK and European markets. And my penultimate project, I actually managed a training for 20,000 users, end users across Europe. So what that meant was all my projects, I was actually designing the training material and testing the system for that people needed to do their jobs. And then we would actually create that material and we would deliver it. So I've got a lot of experience talking to people in multicultural environments all over the world, to stakeholders. I had to stand up every week and talk to people, and it's made me very resilient also. I had a lot of challenges, as you can imagine. IT world is pretty ruthless, and it makes you very resilient and gives you the strength to deal with your projects. And a lot of these skills, and I mean, most of them, I've literally transferred over to my property world. So I was in property anyway. I was an accidental landlord. And then I moved into property full time about 4 or 5 years ago. Of course, there's been challenges, and that could be another, I mean, even before my last project, and that can be another talk even at some time. But it's what you do to get to this point, and it's how you pick yourself up, and it's how you keep going. And so that's a little bit about me. So then subjects that we're going to go through, we've got leveraging a successful global IT career, why branding really matters, raising finance. I've added some stuff in about JVs as well. I think these points are really good for you guys to hear if that's something that you're wanting to do or doing. Overcoming challenges, the power of human-centered design, adding value, mitigating risk, and mindset. So I've covered most of this already. Just a bit about stuff I do in my personal time. On my last project, I didn't actually get a lot of personal time. That's something I am actively changing at the moment for my current projects. Make sure you get that personal time, do the things that you love. I also dance. I'm a dive master. I love traveling. I'm also a philanthropist, so I help many different causes. And actually what I'd like to do once I've got everything set up in my property world is be the one providing good housing for care providers for children. I think if someone can go on mute, they've just come off. So providing good homes for providers who provide childcare. That's something that's one of my goals that I want to achieve. So I talked a bit about leveraging my career. It doesn't have to be IT. It can be anything that you're doing. If you're thinking about, how do I get started? We're all at different phases of our projects and where we are on our journeys. And it's really important to look at where we are and what we do and how we can use those skills. Because I remember when I moved into property full time, some people actually said to me, "Oh, that's quite a change, to go from IT to property." No, it's not actually. My penultimate project, as I said, I managed a rollout for 20,000 users. I'm used to managing budgets. I'm used to managing timescales. It's just a different outcome. We all have skills. And if these are skills that you want to develop, also what I would suggest from a personal point of view, if you're not used to speaking and standing up in front of people, go to networking events, talk to people, stand up, ask questions. These are ways of building your confidence. And when people see that you're very confident and competent about what you're talking about and your subject matter, then they believe in you. And then when you can demonstrate that, this is how you get potential investment. And obviously we're always looking for that so we can do our projects. And this is a key part of what we're doing. So, build your confidence. And there's a great book, actually. It's called The Slight Edge. It's by Jeff Olson. That's Jefffolsen. It really helped me and was instrumental for me on my last project because I had some health issues as well, which I was managing at the same time as doing my project. And what that book was about was taking small steps every day. We are in a world like myself right now. I'm at home and we're predominantly working by ourselves. It's not a great environment like that. So that's why I try to get out and go to networking events. But, at these times when we are by ourselves, we might feel overwhelmed by what we need to do. Be reminded, look, we're all in the same boat. Take a small step every day. This book, The Slight Edge, It's about taking small compounding steps every day, and that helped me with both my health and my project. Oops, because that was running at the same time. So I highly recommend it. I listen on audio. You can go for a walk, pop your earpods in and listen to it. It would really, really help you. One of the things I just want to just quickly mention is that when I was in my IT world, I took on the role myself as a go-between. And I'm a problem solver. I like to fill the gaps. I like to close the gaps. I like to know that it's been done properly to mitigate risk. And this in particular, I apply exactly the same approach to my projects. And I would suggest to any of you doing your projects, never say to your contractor or whoever you're engaging that I don't care, I haven't got the time, just deal with it. Yeah, just do whatever you think you need to do. I would never, ever say that to my contractor, because I like to know what's going on. And when you know what's going on, then you can make the right decision to fix that problem and mitigate your risks so it doesn't come back and bite you again in the future. So why branding matters in property. So I've put a couple of photos here. So this is a photo of one of the bedrooms in my last development. So I created it like a hotel. So I actually designed the house. That's the layout. I didn't do the drawings, but in terms of the layout and everything, as if I was going to live there. So this is a picture of one of the bedrooms. As you can see, it's nice and bright. It's got very luxurious feel. Light's very, very important for me. And then the photo below, that's one of my en-suites, which I'm super proud of because I was very, very clever with my space, which I'll talk a little bit about afterwards. But branding is really important. What do you represent? Property relies heavily on trust. You know, now for me, it's great. I've just won Property Deal of the Year. That's a fantastic achievement. So for the people that didn't know me, and I was quite well known anyway, now they know even more about me. And the people that didn't know me, now they know who I am. And I can demonstrate that clearly. And property is so much about trust because it's so much about paying your investors back. And how do you secure your assets so you can exit, so you get the return that you want? And it's by delivering quality so you can exit your deal and you can pay everyone back. And especially your investors, because that's one of the most important things. A well-defined brand differentiates you against your business. I want to deliver the best. That doesn't mean I've spent the most because I'm very, very good at negotiating, but I want to deliver the best. People will pay a premium for my properties because I am delivering this to them. That doesn't mean that I'm overcharging them because we know lending is expensive, but I need that return so it actually is a deal. Be consistent with what you're doing. I mentioned before I had some health issues, so I admit I disappeared when I was on my project. I went into hibernation. I've only really resurfaced again in the last 6 months, but I'm being consistent with my brand, with what I'm doing. And I would honestly say this, if you've got an issue like that, just tell people, put a post up, let people know what's going on, and then they'll know. So that's just some personal advice from what I went through the last couple of years. And by doing all of this, you make a strong brand, it's stronger relationships, it's repeat investors. So one of my investors, we've actually got a meeting today. So after this, I'm off for an investor meeting, and he's hopefully going to invest in my bungalow, which I'm building on this site where I've done the HMO. So it's really important that you're delivering the right message. The trust is already there. He's invested before, he got paid back on time. Got a little bit of a bonus as well. You know, keep people happy. It gets noticed, and yeah, then I'm on to my next project. Morals and integrity, know, like, trust. These things, people hear it all the time, but I really, really mean it. I do hear stories of people not paying their investors back. It horrifies me. I actually write into my contracts that if I were to close down any of my companies, that I am personally liable still. I am personally liable. So that gives reassurance to my investors that they're going to get their money back. And of course, we have all the other paperwork, but make sure that you pay your investors back. And if a project doesn't work out, find a way to bring that money in set up a payment plan with them, that be creative, there's ways around it, but do it. So raising finance, joint ventures, I think it's really important to put this message out because I have tried to set up JVs before and for different reasons they haven't worked out. So I personally just wanted to put some points here to get you guys thinking and to safeguard yourself, to safeguard your money, your funds, your investor funds and your project. So first of all, debt versus equity-based lending. Basically what that is, I will never, well, I don't intend to, but I don't want to give a share of my company to someone. I don't want them to have any control. I don't want them to have any say-so. I am taking on investors. I pay them a set return. They get, at the end of the project, they get their money back and then they get their interest back. And that is what you call a debt. But that's debt-based lending. Equity is where I'm actually giving part of the company to someone. I don't want to do that for different reasons. I don't want to be tied to online with someone that could affect my assets and everything that I've spent years building. So is a JV right for you? Can you trust a JV partner? Do you share the same vision? For what, I'll give you an example, like my last project, I spent hours and hours and hours. When I was in hibernation, I would be on site all day. I'd be coming back, I'd be doing my admin, I'd be tracking all the invoices, be sending those off to my lender to do my drawdowns. There was a lot of admin to do. Then I'd have something to eat and then I would be working till the early hours. I'm not recommending this, but I'm just saying this is what was happening in my life. And I would be researching every single day, what is the best solution for this? So, you know, think just how the property was being built, for example. Every single finish that went in, if you remember the photo from my ensuite, every single finish in those ensuite took hours and hours of research. Would someone work like I do? I don't think so. Could I find someone like that? Maybe I might. But these are the things you need to determine, because it comes down to it's my last point on this slide: roles and responsibilities. You know, I've been in a situation also where I'd moved into property full time, and I was learning. So this is 4 years ago. So I embraced it because everything was new for me. We were doing a permitted development application. I'm just about to submit it. I learned so much. I took all of that and then I could put that into my other projects. But at the same time, my potential business partner, they had a full-time job and they were still getting paid. I wasn't, and they weren't doing any of the operational stuff. So it's really important to define the roles and responsibilities and who's doing what. That also includes fees. So say, for example, one of you have sourced the property, do they get a fee for that? So it's just things to think about if you're going to do a JV and to put into your contract. Really important, next point, does a JV partner have assets? Last week, even I was approached by someone, they want to do a JV with me. And because I've been through all of this, I know what to ask. And I said, okay, yeah, I would potentially consider that. I said, but it's really important that both JV partners have assets, because I know because I did I took out a development loan. So that's from a main lender. You put all your assets on the line, including my home, because you've got to sign a personal guarantee. And if something goes wrong in that project and you've signed up for a JV with someone, something goes wrong, let's say you don't get planning and you've got a building and it's worth 2 million. You're paying interest, you're paying money to hold that every month. Who is servicing that? Meaning, who is paying the interest on that? You know, you could end up running up a lot of interest if you're paying around, 1% a month. It's a lot of money. How are you going to do that? If the project goes wrong, the lender is going to come after the person first with the assets. So for me, it was a straight, quick WhatsApp back. I said, yeah, potentially we could do a JV, but what assets do you have? And they said, I haven't got any assets. But it's okay because I signed a personal guarantee on my last project and I signed away future earnings. That means nothing. Yeah, so I just want to share some real examples to you. That means nothing. People want assets. And if something goes wrong, the lender's going to come on after the person with the assets. So be mindful of that if you're setting up a JV with someone. Also, how a JV partner reacts under pressure. I've also been in a situation where I was kind of being spoken down to a bit by one person, that's not a partnership. And then at the same time, I've seen other people make really bad decisions under pressure. So I'm very resourceful. I don't have all the answers. I have to keep putting myself out there all the time to find the answers, but I know I will find it. But I would never do something stupid to jeopardize my finances or my assets. So be mindful about how you see these other people that you might go into business to, how they conduct themselves, how they handle pressure, how they speak to the normal person, cleaners, people in restaurants. I only want to be around people who are respectful. So that's just some things to think about before I start diving into my project, because I think these are really good points. So what do lenders and investors want? I've also added this in: to be credible and trustworthy. Going back to my point, make sure you find a way to pay your investors back. To have your own funds in. Again, so last week, this person who was messaging me, because I said, well, how would you, if we take on a site, so this was a full planning site, it would be to knock down a bungalow and then to build 4 houses. But that site's nearly £2 million. They have no funds to pay the interest each month once we've actually secured that site. So it's really important, if he's got a deep pocket and he's got funds, yeah, okay, great, you put the money in, and I can put some money in potentially if I think it's a really good deal, and we both go together. But he said to me, no, I'd have to get an investor that would pay the interest as well as the down payment. That's just not going to happen. Every investor I speak to wants you to have skin in the game, and if you haven't got funds, then think about who can you get funds from. So typically, unsecured lending, where you're not securing it against an asset, so like my flat, for example, or one of my properties. Unsecured lending, your parents might be able to lend you 20,000, or a good friend that have known you all your life. Think about your network around you. You might know some of your friends, they've set up a business. They might have some funds available. Ask them. It's a quick WhatsApp. It's a quick message. Oh, hey, I saw that you're doing this. Do you know that I'm in property now? I've got some investment opportunities coming up. Why don't we have a chat? Keep it really simple. And a good example of this is, from my IT background, I also have lots of investors. The lady who was my main investor on my last project, we had spoken before, her and her husband, and they were going to put in about 250,000. At that time, I didn't have the deal. And then they changed their minds. They said, oh, no, we're not going to go forward. Anyway, when I won the bid on the house, which I'm going to talk about, I thought, shall I message them and see if they've got funds? And I thought, oh, I don't know. Anyway, I did. And that WhatsApp got me 125,000. And that is no BS. That literally is the truth. So you never know who's got money. And then if you haven't spoken to them, just drop them a message and ask. So just quickly going through these points: proven track records, post about what you're doing, create interest. People, investors and lenders want to know what you've done before. Also, developer who's a problem solver, they're going to ask. So I'm being asked at the moment, okay, so let's say I don't get planning on the bungalow that I want to build. What am I going to do? Well, it's in a really good area. I can potentially sell it and stick it in an auction. There's multiple ways around it. So make sure that you've always got a plan B and C. Investors and lenders, they want security, as I mentioned, but most importantly, they want their investment funds back in full with interest. Okay, so just to talk about my deal. So I saw it on the Sunday night online. I won it on the Thursday. 4 days. That's how quickly it happened. So my advice to any of you who don't already have your bases set up and what you're going to do, get yourselves ready. That means get to know your area. So this was in my area. That also gave me the ability to move really quickly on this, because I knew my numbers, even though I couldn't prove my GDV, which was part of my issue, which I overcame. but I couldn't find a like for what I wanted to do. So, you know, speak to people, speak to architects, speak to planning consultants, you know, get out to networking events, meet contractors. Contractors are actually very hard to find at the moment. I want to get my own flat done, and I'm finding it very hard to find a good contractor. And in that time, you can do your due diligence on them. You know, go to their sites, have a look at this is what I've been doing. See what their the quality of their work, and the more you have set up for, so when the deal comes along, you can go for it. So what I did with this, I actually put in a pre-offer, which the vendor didn't accept, but I actually asked beforehand, and it all happened literally just a day before I won it. I agreed an exchange of delayed completion. So what that meant was if I won, instead of having 4 weeks to complete, I got 12 weeks to complete. So what that allowed me to do, I bought time. It allowed me to raise my finance, my private investor finance, and it allowed me to compare my lending quotes that I was given for my development lender. And what was interesting, that so one person who I had been speaking to, I've met at an event, very charming, very charismatic. When it came down to it, the terms that he gave me for my loan, my development loan, were unacceptable. So, you know, and if anyone wants to drop me a message afterwards, feel free to do this. So, for example, he was charging me exit fees. So on top of the broker fee and the setup fee, there's also an exit fee. Why should I pay to exit this loan? You're still making money out of me at the end of the day. We couldn't get there. Yeah, we couldn't meet. So I went elsewhere. So I went to 2 other companies and brokers. And because I had time, because there was so many moving parts, that actually saved me £20,000. Why? Because I had a variable quote and I had a fixed quote. Now, normally I would have gone on to fixed because I like to know how much I'm paying every month. But obviously we know what happened with the economy and the base rate skyrocketed. But what I actually did, I put everything, I'm an Excel geek, so everything went into my Excel, and I benchmarked exactly how much I was paying for each loan, one for fixed, one for the variable. And I worked out, if I went onto the variable, I would actually have £20,000 more in my pocket on day one. It was a no-brainer. The base rate had slowed, so it wasn't rising. And I thought, well, okay, even if the base rate increases again, it's still got to eat into that first 20,000. And this project is hopefully going to be over in a year. I worked it out. I thought I'm still going to be quids in. So I did that. So that's a really valuable thing. So not only did I agree the exchange of delayed completion to give me more time just to sort out the project, what I was going to do, but it literally saved me £20,000 more in my pocket day one. Thank you very much. I haven't even started the project yet. So some of the challenges. So I had an up valuation 6 months into the project, which is pretty unheard of. And this is one of the reasons I won my award. So to get my loan, it took a solid 4 to 6 weeks. And another thing, when you're doing your projects, don't let anyone get in your way, because a lot of these people, they work for companies that it's not their business. They don't really care. I'll give you an example. My broker at the time, obviously I don't use them anymore. First time using them, they were a recommendation. They spent so long pushing the emails that I wasn't actually getting the answers that I needed. Because I won this house in an auction, I was under pressure to complete, because if I didn't complete on time by the end of the 12 weeks, and after I got served my notice also, I'd lose the house. And I would have lost my deposit, which was what, 47,000, and plus all the fees I'd already forked out. So I would have lost about £65,000. So I just took the broker out of it. I went directly straight to the lender, and I literally had a one-to-one relationship. We were on the phone every single day, going through emails, everything that was outstanding. It was stringent, the processes. There was so much to do. I highly recommend them. We won't go into that now on the call, but if you guys want to know, I jumped through hoops to get that. But once I got everything done, they did an amazing job for me, my lender. Very, very grateful. But if someone says to you, it will take 7 to 10 days to turn around a bridge or development loan, it's not possible. I'd like to know really if that was been done. It was a solid 4 weeks work. So I just want to give you if you haven't done a bridge or development loan before, just an idea of how long it takes. And that was every single day, every hour of the day. I got a bricks and mortar valuation, meaning that the house was just valued on it was not what it was going to be, which was a house of multiple occupancy for 6 people, but it was just based on what it was, like a family residence. I had to take it. I challenged it. I was under time pressure. I had to accept it. But what that meant was I had to raise another 50,000 at the last minute. This is where my best mate came in. So it really helps to have good friends. And also, so they know what you stand for, because obviously, if I'm not reputable, they're not gonna lend or invest in you. But they put £50,000 in, and then what I did, I'm very, very persistent. So if you've got a clear vision, like I said, don't let anyone get in your way. If you need to get something done, you find a way of doing it. You just keep going. You keep going. You go to the top if you need to as well. And I had a very, very good relationship with my asset managers. Asset managers are the guys that come out and they assess your project while you're doing the work. They say, okay, yes, you've done this and done this. Okay, that accounts for X amount of work. And they report back to my main lender. And that's how I do my drawdown, because I'm using development funding. So I had to put in the first 25,000, and then I claimed that 25,000 back from my lender. And then I use that to do the next set of works. Because I had a very good relationship with them, and I was very crystal clear about my vision and what I was doing, my plans were then finalised by that time as well. They actually wrote a report, which they didn't even charge me for, and they backed me, and I managed to get a desktop valuation done. I had to pay for it, but it was 1,500, something like that. But I actually got another £100,000. I got exactly the same valuer to value that, which is really, really unheard of. And obviously I could prove this when I submitted all of my valuations for my award. So be really clear about what you're doing and stick to it. But what that also did, it put £75,000 in my development pot, which meant that I had enough money to finish the project, which was great. Then the power of a human-centered design. I mentioned before, I designed the house. I mean, this house is better than my flat at the moment. So I designed it as if I was going to live there. So I maximized the space. So this is the kitchen downstairs. I've got 2 kitchens, you can see, because I've, as an IT consultant, I've lived all over the place in different countries, in shared houses and Airbnbs, all over. So I know what I like. I like to know what I like to think. I know what people like as well. So I thought about the whole flow of the house, how people are going to use the space. I hate people being on top of one another. I want to create a community or encourage community. I want to hear people laugh. I want it to be a space where people can come and really relax. And it's small things, even you can't see, but where I've got a little table on the right side, that was actually going to be a little TV area. In the end, I decided not to do that because it would encourage noise in the kitchen and it would disturb my other bedrooms on the kitchen, just falling on from the kitchen. And I wanted it to be kind of a tech-free space, where people can actually just talk like normal and interact with one another. What I also did, I benchmarked against other projects. So someone in one of my WhatsApp groups, because I will definitely not take credit for this, he said, look, your house, he'd been to the house, it's a very similar shape to mine. Why don't you come to mine? And he said, I think you can get 6 bedrooms. So because of that, and I was very, very grateful. And I went to his, he showed me how I could achieve 2 bedrooms at the back, which was great because it lifted my GDV. So take the time. And like I said, because I agreed the exchange of delayed completion, I bought myself time to think about what I was doing. I didn't rush it. Never rush something. Make sure you think about it, you implement it properly so you don't have to retrofit and that you have no regrets. The bedrooms and the en-suites were very cleverly designed. I mentioned that before. So if I just flick back to my en-suites, there's so much detail that went into these. Everything was soft close, for example. I hate noise. I suffer from noise in my own flat. That actually drove me even more to make this house as soundproof as possible. And it's not about being the most expensive either. There was very clever things I did. I'll give you an example. So my splashbacks, it's the leafy splashback behind the sink. I was right at the end of the project. It was one of the last things that needed to go in. the minimum price was about £75. I thought, I'm not paying that. I don't want to spend nearly £500 on splashbacks. There's so many other things I need to buy still. So I went to one of the tile shops near me. They had these massive leafy tiles, which I'd seen right at the beginning when I was doing the project. They even gave me discount. I didn't have to ask. Always ask for discount. Always negotiate. I bought 2 massive tiles for £60. We cut them into 6 pieces. My contractor put a trim on them, boom, and they look absolutely stunning. One of the reasons that transforms the ensuite. So there's lots of little things that you can do. And just in terms of like some of the ensuites have been a little bit smaller. So I put in a wall hung toilet, for example, which means that the toilet doesn't protrude so much. I made sure that people had enough space to move. There was a lot of thought that went into the design. So just going back to the slides. I enhanced the project during the design stage while we were building it. For example, my 2 bedrooms at the back, the roof was supposed to be, the ceiling was supposed to be flat. And I came in one day because I was managing it, so I know I would be checking everything. And they started putting the rafters in, and I thought, oh no, that's really going to close off the space. I really like space. And then I was a bit concerned because the space had all been open and I'd only put roof lights in my kitchen. And I decided originally not to put roof lights in the 2 back bedrooms on the ground floor because of rain. And I thought, the noise. So what I did, I thought, okay, no, I want to put 2 roof lights into the bedrooms to bring the light. And plus, both bedrooms have got a patio door also. I got my builder to change the rafters. I got them to cut through and put 2 new roof lights in. Yes, that cost me a little bit more, but the end product I've got is exceptional. For what I've delivered, it's like I said, people pay a premium to live there because I have thought of everything that you could do on the project. And for the sake of a few £100 to make sure, so I mitigate risk by delivering a top quality project first time round. So even if that put me behind by a couple of months, that's okay, because I will make sure I'm making sure that room is always going to be rented out, or all the rooms are going to be rented out. So that's less void to me, or no voids. And it was rented out within 6 weeks, literally snapped up. So adding values, different way I did this. Day 1, I backed 155k in equity. Why? Because I bought it below market value. It was worth 627. I got it at 474,500. Amazing. My maximum bid, if you're taking part in auctions, make sure you got your maximum. My maximum bid was 475,000, so I was just under. Then I created value again. I had the up valuation from 725 to 825,000. That's another 100k in the pot. Thank you very much. I extended up and out. I built a high-spec HMO, gross rental 88,000. The lender takes a big part of that because we know the lending has gone up so much, but that's my gross rental. But that's why I delivered quality to make sure that I get that rental, so I have money left over. I'm not breaking even. That I'm actually all the cash flow I make now is pure profit. It's an infinite return. Upvalued at the end to 900,000. I had another challenge right at the end. It was actually downvalued by a different valuer, less than the 825 at 785. I was not happy, as you can imagine. I had Homes Under the Hammer come to film the next day. I received the report the day before, and I read it, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to put this aside, focus on the filming, because they were coming to film the end product. And I still sat there and I said, this is the valuation that I'm going for. This is the rental I'm going for. I thought, no one is getting in the way of my vision. Yeah. So you stick to what your vision is. And what I actually did, the valuer, the auctioneer, and this is just, I like the detail. As part of my appeal to the valuer, I wrote a 35-page document. I tore their comparables apart because it was not a direct comparable for what I had created. They had only described my house as good 3 times in the whole report. I had already sent them a whole comprehensive report of all the different things I'd done. New roof, smart systems, the lot. nothing like that appeared in the valuation report. And what I'd actually, I got people who had come to my open day and the valuer, or sorry, the auctioneer who came to film for Homes Under the Hammer. I got him to write a recommendation for me on LinkedIn because he had valued it at 900,000. And I screenshotted that as part of my appeal with other feedback. I had some amazing feedback from my open day, and I put that as part of my appeal. So be resourceful. Think about how you can get your point across and get other people's opinions if you need to. Anyway, the valuer still didn't budge, but what I actually managed to do was to get another valuer through my broker and another lender to get me a valuation of 900, and because they didn't even agree with that either. So be persistent and don't let anyone take your livelihood away from you. Plus, I had to pay my investors back. Yeah, it goes back. How do I need to pay my investors back? What do I need to do to get my money out? Yeah, don't let anyone say, oh, please don't contact whoever. Do whatever it takes. My personal, because it's your business, it's your livelihood. You need to survive in this market. Do whatever it takes. And then what I've also done, I title split the land. So I'm planning to build a bungalow on the back. That's worth 180,000 at the moment. Once I've got planning, 260, 280, and then I build my bungalow out and I sell it. Again, pure profit. So when you're looking at sites, and especially using property filters to do it, because I love the different functionalities on property filter and what you can do and what you can see, look for something creative. Look at how you can add value. It's not just about buying a house or a flat. What value can you bring? Use the tool to help you and find your deal. This was just a basic 3-bed house. I actually got advice from one of the other judges who doesn't know the area. It's my area. I paid him as a consultancy call. This is like 2 years back. And he thought I should sell it because I couldn't create the GDV. Now, there's nothing wrong with that because it's not his area. But I know my numbers. I knew that, okay, I might not get it now, but it's a journey. You will prove it in the end. And I did. And literally, it's all money out. And I've got this site at the back. It's the perfect deal. So mitigating risk, just some key points. Know your numbers. Whatever area you're operating it in, know how much property sell for, what type of property sell for, what amount, if what the rentals are, for 1 bed, 2 beds. Know your numbers. So when you see the opportunity, you can move quickly. Yeah. No, don't think. Yeah. Do use the tool, use property filter, all the information they've got there, all the comparables. I've found a commercial deal at the moment, which I'm negotiating on. And I found it on property filter. I can literally go on to property filter, look at the comparables, look at how much the pounds are selling per square meter. You have all that information there. Use it. Don't think about doing it, just do it. Take the time to think. So like I said, I agreed an exchange with delayed completion. Goes back to also knowing my numbers, as well as knowing my numbers for the area. Understand what you're signing up for. Yeah, I saved myself £20,000 at the beginning by doing the comparison. Yeah, it's timely because it can be overwhelming because we have so much going on, but this is really valuable advice. Do your due diligence on the professional team, your lenders and your investors, in particular, well, everyone, but while we've been speaking about lenders, make sure you do your due diligence. Like my lender, they were never out there. I had to extend my loan. They were never out there to take my property from me. Yeah. Make sure you sign up with the right people. Do your due diligence. I was having this conversation yesterday because I presented, and I've heard of other lenders who are out there to take your property. Be careful who you get into bed with. It's the same with a JV partner. Do your due diligence on your investors. If they're a bad investor, if they're not the right person, yes, we want them to invest with us, but it is win-win. If it's not the right person, go elsewhere because that person could potentially cause you problems. And on your professional team, so week 1, another reason I won the award, I replaced my contractor. They thought I was a woman. They thought I was stupid. They didn't know that I had the capability of managing multi-million pound projects. And people, they talked down to me. I had an itemized quote. So when the invoice comes in, I want that amount to match exactly against my item on my quote. And it didn't. They were trying to fiddle me about £4,000 on the scaffolding. I had my line there. Where's that extra £4,000 come from? So anyway, 2 days of discussions and rude messages from them. I got a message: if you don't pay the invoice by 1 o'clock, you can come and collect the keys. So I did. I turned up with one of my friends, politely took the keys. They weren't there. The builders were there. Very nice. Said bye. Thank you very much. Put me behind by a month. It's fine, because in that time, I went out to tender to another 10 contractors, and there was one guy that kept coming back, and he was quick, he was fast. I went to view his property. He had finished it by the time he started on my place, which was fantastic. Did a very, very high quality job. And I actually, because it gave me more time to actually go through the quote in absolute detail, and I reduced it. It's like, no, get rid of that, get rid of that. I don't want that. Examples, he wanted to charge me £20,000 for painting a house. Why are you going to charge me £20,000? So understand what you're signing up for. Replace the team if needed. Take no crap. My professional team was not the only people that I replaced. I replaced my structural engineer because I found out he didn't have insurance. And I admit I should have checked that at the beginning. Apparently, you don't need to have your own insurance as a structural engineer, but you need to follow the code of conduct, which he didn't, because he didn't inform me. But the reason I started questioning things was because I was very actively involved in the design. When I was building my dormer for the second floor, the beams, my contractor said to me, why don't you have the beams interlocking into one another? So what I mean by that, so you've got your support, and then your beams will actually go into your support, and then it gets all fixed together. What he had done, which was acceptable, but you can just clip 2 bits of wood together, but then there's no support underneath. So I don't like that, because I'm thinking, why don't you give me the most optimal option? He also put a timber support, so a wooden support for my chimney, but I share that chimney with my neighbour. So if something happens over time where there's movement, we know that wood shrinks and expands with the weather. It's going to affect the integrity of my property and her property. And for me, that was the red flags. And then I said to him that I'd contacted this organisation for structural engineers. I can't remember the exact name. They said you needed to follow the code of conduct. I said, please, can you take out the insurance? Here's a link. It was cheap insurance. He wouldn't do it. He said, I'm not having a client talk to me like that. And I said, look, I really want to work with you still. Please, can you take out the insurance? Otherwise, if something goes wrong, it's me who's going to foot the bill. And he wouldn't, so I replaced him. Yeah, it's okay if things go wrong and you need to swap people out. Do it. Don't let people talk down to you on your project. It make you feel very uncomfortable, make you feel unsafe about what they're delivering, because it will come back and haunt you. At least I can sleep at night because I know my house was built properly, with integrity as well. No cutting corners. There's always ways to negotiate time and for materials. Assess and enhance the build throughout. If you see something that you think, actually, this would be better, do it. Yeah. No retrofitting, and don't be afraid to say no. So last slide, mindset. Every day is a learning day. Remember that book I mentioned, Jeff Olson, The Slight Edge. Wonderful, wonderful book. Read it or listen to it on audio. It will really help you. Small compounding steps every day. Forward thinking. Don't think just about now. Think about what's going to happen in the future. Yeah, and to mitigate your risk, to safeguard your asset. Know that you will overcome challenges. It is hard. It's hard. I was under a lot of pressure to deliver. I had a lack of sleep, but once you've done a big project, the next time round you can just rinse and repeat. Yeah, but commit to it. Upskill constantly. Leverage your professional team. I don't need to be the expert in everything, but make sure that you're engaging the people who are. When contractors come round, or anyone, I'm always asking questions. I'm always interviewing. I'm always listening, because how they act is how they would act on your project. Clear vision to overcome your obstacles. Don't let anyone get in your way. I really, really mean that, especially when it comes to your valuation. And if you're questioning something about the quality of the work, so I actually sent in clips of where I had pulled up my contractors for some of the work. There was they had to change some of the roof tiles, for example. They had been screwing in the roof tiles, and you're supposed to nail them in, because if you need to replace those tiles, you have to take a whole section out. Whereas if you just nail them in, then you can just replace that tile. So understand what's happening on your project, so these things don't come back to bite you, and have a winner's mindset. That doesn't mean winning an award, yeah, but just know that you're going to get through this. So yeah, that's my talk. I've packed in a lot of content, so ready for some questions, and I hope you all have found that useful. It would be nice to get some feedback, please.
Yeah, that's really awesome, Bernadette. Thanks so much for sharing all of this, taking us really from the start to finish with your projects. And I know everyone likes to make property look and sound easy, but the reality of it is you have to really be the driver of this property career, right? So, and take no for answers. So I took a few sound bites, and as I go through some of this, I might have some questions, and maybe we elaborate on top of it. And I'll encourage everyone to ask any questions you have in the chat, and I'll go through them I go through it as we continue. So the first sort of thing you mentioned is really you need to be the problem solver. And also, you create value in this marketplace because you are solving problems. So no one made money ever in property by buying a property at asking price and saying yes to every property, selling them whatever. So deals are made, not found, and you totally embody this. From the start to finish, from the point where you sort of pick and choose that property, and in every step where you solve the different problems, and all the way to revaluation, all the way through sort of managing the valuers and every person involved in it from the start. Like deals are made, not found. But it's not just about finding the deals, buying it, and that's done. Like there's the whole process. And I love how you emphasize on you need to know what's going on. And a lot of people sort of trust the professionals a bit too much, take, yes for, yes, no for an answer, and you just challenge everything is true, You mentioned about properties, about trust, about the trust you create. That's why people will give you more deals, because they trust you complete. People will want to work with you because they trust you to take it through. All the investors, so anyone who struggles to find investors, Bernadette's told you the blueprint here. It's about the old trust. And I'll jump a little bit on a note here on your unsecured lending, and I totally echo with this. The first 10 investors you need you already know them. They're already on your phone. That's really the truth. And for this unsecured lending, we in the startup world, they call it we've got multiple funding rounds and stuff. And your first ever round, they call it the friends, fools, and families, round. This is like quite a normal recognized term. It's like people who irrationally believe in you, and this is how you get off the ground in the first place. And that's the truth, right? So deliver the best doesn't mean you have to pay the most. That's quite a cool soundbite you had here. I really liked it, and you emphasize always on the fact that you buy well. Was it £155,000 of equity? From day one.
At the beginning, day one.
If you don't buy well to start with, it's harder to make to value engineer your builder's quote to a point where you make that amount of equity. Role and responsibilities in JV. So you cover quite a lot. So who does what? So all the projects I've done is very much in JV partnerships. Property Filter, I'm one of 3. My properties, I'm one of 2. This is just a game of playing with your strength and pulling your work as well. So a lot of the JV sounds great on paper until you have to really work with people, and most people out there talk a good game, I find, but when it's time to to assess whose work ethic is going to pull the shift to make this work, the hair gets thinner in my experience, right? So there's always a bit of that. So yeah, find the contractors before you need them. So absolutely, I echo this totally with my background in construction. It's not when you are you've got a 28-day completion deadline on your head, on your forehead, that you need to go rush around to find, then you're the motivated buyer, and then you don't have time to really do anything. You don't really have time to check that they are actually professional. The same way, you should always be looking for deals. You should always be, looking for contractors, so qualifying them, understanding where, the type of projects they have, the size of projects they can do. I find the optimum, there's no good about builder in the sense that you just need to bring them to the right size of project, So the one tradesperson, the one on demand might do your maintenance, but they won't do your HMO conversions, the Balfour Beatties, Langor Oaks, and big national contractors. They do Highways England jobs, but they're not going to do your HMO conversion. So these are the two extremes, but it's understanding that who's going to do your flips, who's going to do your assisted sales, who's going to do your HMO conversions, and it's almost like you want your project to be a little stretch for them, so that they're like the owner is personally involved, and so that you don't go to too big of a company where you 20% of the cost is just the overhead, the office, the secretary, like all their system. In my experience, go and get it. I love the attitude. It's like just go and get it. You get what you ask for. Be resourceful. There's very much a theme here of go and make it happen. So that I love this all the way indeed to your valuation. And or you get another valuation with another one. Like it's the old deal making. When I say deals are made not found, it goes beyond just finding the opportunity and completing on the projects. It's all the way through how you control or you add value, and how you control the refinancing on the other side. I don't understand. People come to me sometimes, say, "Oh, you have added on value," and then you speak with them and like, I went with the broker, told me this surveyor, and this surveyor gave me this. It's like, it's not how it works. You want to be proactive with everything you do. So yeah, love it. Love all of that. Always ask for discounts. Always negotiate. That was quite a good soundbite. Yeah.
I'll give you a good example. So my tiles, for example, they were £25 per square metre and £40 per square metre. I only wanted to pay £25 per square metre for everything. A second time round, I got what I wanted. I went in and I said, "This is how much I want to pay," and they said, "Okay."
Yeah.
But ask the same thing many times over in different ways.
Yeah, especially if you've got options, like that's, it's absolutely fine, Don't take no for an option. Do whatever it takes, and then due diligence on your JV partner all day long. Due diligence on your investors. People think it's you raise money for the money, but it's a people's business, And I've said no to more private investors than monies I've taken. You want your value to be aligned. If you wouldn't spend a weekend with that person, what do you get in bed with, like a commercial, agreement with a personal guarantee on top of it? Like, do yourself a favor. There's plenty of good people out there. Go and work with the right one. So, and then the way you manage the build, because you're not in a rush, you go through every itemized line of your build. Because the thing is, so as good as your specification of schedule of work is going to be, someone's going to take whoever reviews it is going to take assumptions. It's why you've got I find when you ask for 3 quotes, you got one that is double the other. It's always a bit of a red flag to be the cheapest, right? But equally, so the most expensive one would have a lot of the time take too many assumptions on things. So every quote you get, before you engage on a builder, you want just to realign to make sure the understanding is the same, and say, "Oh yeah, but I thought we were going to do all of that." No, we don't. And therefore you can just sort of value engineer just the fact that all of you are aligned into what needs to be done, and then you can have the variation on top of it after, but at least you have the same set there. So I think the key theme, is if you want to be an award-winning property investor, is you want to be proactive in the way you find your deals, proactive in the way you manage your build, proactive in the way you manage your lenders, and all the tens and dozens of relationships that going to make or break your project. So I loved it, Bernadette. That was great.
Thanks.
Did I make a good summary of it? Is that right?
Sorry?
Was that a okay summary?
That was great. Thank you. But I really want to help other people. There's enough deals out there for everyone. There's so much property out there. So if I can help someone overcome their valuation issues, that's fantastic, because that has a massive impact on someone in their life.
There's so many things you need to get right.
Quite happy to share information, because we've all got to help each other.
Thanks so much. So let me have a look at the questions. So you had lots of incredible feedback. Brilliant, excellent presentation, just brilliant, fantastic. Fantastic, mind-blowing presentation, Bernadette. Question from Sibert: Do the bridging companies that you work with give you the loan before getting full planning permission for the development, or where you talk about having it brought to you in tiers, like in tranches? Sorry for the accent. Not tears as in tears, but
on this project, I had to get my planning application in before the lending was complete. And what I had to do, which was, like I said, it was very stringent, their processes. I had to have a plan B. So if I didn't get the extensions that I wanted, what was going to be my option and what was going to be my GDV? I actually had to put another proposal together.
Mm-hmm.
So be prepared to work when you're, really, and pull the information together quickly for your lender. But I did have to get my application in, not approved, but in.
Yeah. I had a very similar project like that, and I had to. I got it at the end in the planning committee, where you have the option A, B, and your GDV is like 30% apart. So it's quite a lot of other people have got a bit of power on this, but you can influence this the more proactive you can be.
Okay, and a little tip here. So very good at relationships, and also please, people, don't think that I'm not a nice person because I'm ruthless. Because you deal with things professionally, and you give people what they need. And if you don't get what you want, then you replace them in a polite way, get them off site, whatever, get them off your project. Thank you very much. And you bring someone else in. Relationships is really key. So if I didn't get my 6-meter extension at the back, I would have changed my project, because I went out by 6 meters, I got 2 bedrooms. If I didn't get those 2 bedrooms, it would have completely changed my GDV and my project. So what did I do? As soon as the application went in, I wish I'd gone round the next day, because my poor neighbour was stressed out, 80-year-old lady. She's just lost her husband and 3 other members of her immediate family. And then she was like, now I've got this, I don't know what's going on. So I went round to all the neighbours with a bottle of Prosecco and some chocolates. And I sat there, and I didn't inform her, I consulted with her. So there's a difference. And what that meant, because I actually took her through what I was doing, I spoke to her son. She didn't object against my 6-meter extension. Yeah. I still need her on board for everything else. So what I've done, even when I built the extension, she didn't want me to build right up to the boundary line, which the council allowed me to do. I consulted her, and I left a 50 mil gap, and then we paid and we shared the cost of a fence. It's little things like that has a massive impact on your project. And I'm not doing it to be nice. I'm nice anyway, but I know the pain. So I'm actually paying to do retile the front of her house. I don't need to do that. It'll cost me a couple of grand, but I need her. I'm doing that also to say thank you for the noise that I put her through, because she's, she didn't need to go through that. So I'm just saying, relationship management is really, really key.
And it helps your GDV as well. If they all neighborhood appeals well. If you're the only nice house in a bit of a shithole, that the valuers, they don't like it either. So yeah, great. So people are asking about, there's a few questions, but people are also asking about contact details. Have you got a slide with ways to reach out to you, or something you want to put in the chat?
Let me just. I've got my property filter slide. I hope you guys are using this properly. Also, I say that because sometimes people aren't using the tools that we've got right here. Last night I was out presenting all day yesterday. I came back and I went onto Property Field. It was about 11 o'clock last night. And you know what? Because I've got my lead generator set up, there's a deal that's popped up which I never even spotted before. So it's been removed from the market. 4 flats. I'm like, interesting. So one of the things I'm going to do once I get off this call is get in touch with the agent to see what's going on. Yeah. Simple things that we can be doing. And what I love is that I can access the information quickly at my fingertips. And if you're not using this fully, then you should be booking in a one-to-one with the guys like with Rhett. And you should be set aside at least like twice a week. Set yourself 2 hours a week where you just turn off your phone, turn off your laptop, just focus on qualifying your deals. Because once you become more confident with qualifying your deals, that's when you'll be making them. That's just one point I wanted to say. Because sometimes people are thinking and not doing. So contact details here.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for that. Some questions. Thank you. And that was unprompted, so I really appreciate you sharing that.
It's true. It's true.
You're too kind. Thank you very much. Deborah is asking, have you got a team to support you on a daily basis? It seems unbelievable that you achieve everything on your own. It seems a lonely journey. You've got an amazing, strong character and mindset. Can you tell me a bit more about who supports you, or how do you make it work, for yourself?
So I don't have a direct team to support me. So I use contractors. I have 3 virtual assistants. They do different tasks for me, or actually 4. And I don't have the capacity to I'm a one-woman band. But find people who you can employ when you need them. So I'm doing my analysis. I also have a VA that does further analysis for me with what I find. I have a VA to help me with my marketing, because that takes up a lot of time. I still do my own social media at the moment. I don't trust anyone to give them access to my accounts. But what I would, one thing I'm doing also, because I'm wanting to grow my business. So where I am, this is my little working space. I'm in my kitchen. I stand up and work, but I've got my pin board in front of me. So I actually want to get a nice big planner put up, and then just put in key things that I need to do and want to do on certain days. So it's not just in my laptop, I can actually see it in front of me. And that helps, that's helping me to manage my time also, because it can be lonely and busy. But get yourself out to events, make sure that you join all the calls on Property Filter, talk to people, find out what they're doing. For me, if I go and listen to someone talk, I mean, I've given you guys a lot of information. I'm happy if I just find one bit of information that was helpful, but you need to be out there talking to people. And so that fights the lonely journey that we do on our own. And especially then you can benchmark against people again as well. And the more you surround yourself with people who are doing great things, you will become one of those people.
Go get it, Property Limited. I love it. I thought that's very much on brand with the theme of the tips you shared today. Just one last question from Jude, and sorry, this was asked before. Who's the lender who's been doing your development finance you went with at the end? If you don't mind sharing?
I didn't change the lender. So I had swapped my broker at the beginning. So the lender was Octane Capital, and I highly recommend them. They were very tough. Don't think it was easy. It was stressful. I had to jump through a lot of hoops to get my loan, but they supported me 120%, and I was really proud to deliver what I did, and they know what I went through. They actually did a post about me also when I won my award, which was really lovely. And give the lender what they want, but the key thing is do your due diligence, because they're not out there to take your property from you if you have to extend your loan. That is really key. I've horror stories. So when this was 3 years ago, someone who's been doing it a lot longer than I have, I think the lender was out there specifically to take their property. I think he exchanged, and then he was due to complete a few days later, and then they pulled the lending, and he lost his home. He lost his home. Yeah, there's some horror stories out there. So please, please, please do I'll just put it in the chat, Octane Capital. I can give you guys an introduction, because you'll need to go through a broker. You can't go through them directly.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate all the golden nuggets you shared today. Over-delivered. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I know you're very, very busy. You got lots on, so you've been very, very gracious and generous with your time and advice. So thanks for that. Have you got any sort of closing sentiment for us today?
Just believe in yourself. Don't dream. I'm not a dreamer. Just do it. If you think of it, like we've like a lot of us, we've paid a lot for our property journey. I recognise, like Shane, like we've done some of our training together, and we paid a lot for our property training. So now we just have to implement it. Don't think about it, just do it. That's what I would say. And what I would really like, please, because I've given you a lot of content, take a screenshot and please do a post on social media and tag me. I think that would be a really nice thing to do, because then that's helping me raise my profile. But not just that, it's endorsing me for the content that I'm delivering. I'm not just like this is my journey and this is how much money I'm making. we can't take it with us anyway. Yeah, it's actually what you're about. Yeah, that's what's important. Is what do you stand for, and what will you do with your knowledge? Yeah, that's what's more important. Yeah, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. I'll just put that in the chat.
Yeah.
Really, 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 really excellent book. Highly recommend it.
Well, Bernadette, thank you so much. We appreciate it. I didn't realize, like, Go Get It Property Limited. You couldn't have found a better name for the company. So thanks a lot again for your contribution today, and being sharing the love of Property Filter out there as well. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, and look forward to
great. Thank you for the opportunity, Guillaume.
No, you're most welcome. Thank you everyone for joining us.
I look forward to your posts, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Let's do it. Thank you. See you. Bye.